What's going on, everybody? My name's Crypto Corey. I want to thank you for joining me. Today we've got another Veve and Akomi video. You know, it's a really interesting thought about the value of our Veve collectibles, and I've got two thoughts. These are two separate; they're not necessarily connected. But first thought, we're gonna go back in time. We'll do some history. I have a personal belief that the bots, the heavy bot nature, the third-party market, those two storms of forces that were in Veve in the early days, you know, we'll call those the early days, I guess, the OG days. But, you know, those two scenarios, I think, drove the value and the price of Veve collectibles up. And I think there was enough interest in the platform and money in the platform that whenever all of those things went away and the market itself was starting to crash, that, you know, we didn't crash any further than where we're at now. You know, like, you know, it would have been one of those things that I think that we would have seen a couple collectibles like go down to the point to where Veve starts taking them off or having to do something, because, you know, they're selling under $1 maybe, you know, who knows. But I think that there would have been an event that would have caused deeper price drops in the markets if it wouldn't been for bots and it wouldn't have been for third-party sales outside of the regular Veve marketplace. So I think that as much as those things were not good, especially when it came to trying to get your drops, and then during the crash itself, you know, you got to watch your value drop from, you know, like mine was at the time, it was like 25K, dropped down to like, you know, $3,300, you know, before I actually got the Amazing Fantasy 15, you know, comic. So, and that was how much I invested. I'd invested, you know, just a little over $3,000, and then there it was dropping back down to that, you know, it was actually high threes, low fours, but, you know, that's where it dropped to. And that's kind of unsettling, because when you look at fees, after fees and then cash out, you know, basically I just had a savings account, and then I'm going to get potentially taxed on it a little bit. You know, it seemed not good. You know, it's bottom of the bear market. I know we're almost there. We're like a couple months away, and I'm not so sure that Veve collectibles are going to go down much more. I'll specify that in a minute. So, you know, I felt like we were in this perpetual, you know, bearish momentum that just seemed to be really drastic, and I think it was coming off of the bots and the third-party sales and stuff. But, you know, now that that's all fixed, and, you know, people are kind of still, like, not necessarily optimistic, because I know Amazing Fantasy 15 dropped, that brought a ton of optimism back. The group drop the next day was, you know, they're sitting at the, you know, price, if you include the drop price, including fees, that's where they're at. If you were to go buy a floor one right now and then immediately sell it for the same price, you know, it would be worth probably about $7 afterwards. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, we're in a place now to where when a common isn't worth anything more than the drop price, I consider that to be a good area to be in. So second thing, now this is not related necessarily, obviously, it's all Veve, but you know, this whole art NFT thing, this, you know, NFT art, you know, it's at first I was a little skeptical, because I'm like, you know, I know a ton of artists, and, you know, I can say the equal amount of artist I know is the equal amount of broke artist I know. I'm not saying there aren't rich artists or anything, or artists that have desirable art before, during, or after, you know, like whatever, their death or life or whatever. But, you know, I don't know any artist that actually do very well. I mean, you know, they all basically make the same as a sandwich artist from Subway, most of them. And they claim that their art should be worth thousands of dollars, and you just look at it and it's, it looks like a modern day version of a Jackson Pollock, but with, a little bit of hippie nature to it. So it's got like eyes and, stupid, symmetrical crap in it. It doesn't look bad. It's not bad art. It's just they're trying to sell it off to be something it's not. So my assumption, going into the thoughts on art on Veve, was that. With that said, if to give you like my art background, other than the comic book art and things like that, my favorite artist is Krasasky, Russian painter. He would take a blank, like basically in Russia they weren't allowed to paint abstract that much, so a lot of it was like cityscapes, landscapes, just things like that, things that looked realistic, maybe had a little bit of artistic flair to realism. And then he would take those paintings and he would paint like people would probably call it Picasso style, but it was his own thing. It was just a jumbled up like mess of minstrels. So musical minstrels were painted over top of these really more realistic looking drawings, and these were like very much more caricature style minstrels, very symmetrical in their design, which that's early in its stage, and but the talent of the artist in drawing the realism on the outside, and then to take his own heart and design put on the inside, that's what drove me to people like Krasasky. I like Peter Max. Peter Max is really awesome. He does stuff for Disney. His Statue of Liberty Madonna style was pretty good. He did a lot of background art for Microsoft. So a lot of the things that you would see on Microsoft, he actually did. And that's probably how he got, famous and stuff, or partly what got him his notoriety. And then I'd probably say, I have my wife, she's a big Thomas Kinkade fan. Everyone knows who Thomas Kinkade is pretty much. But I've got a soft spot for photography, and not just any photography, like landscape photography or scenery photography. And my favorite is Peter Lick. Peter Lick, he would do this thing where he would make these giant photos. And these giant photos, he would put them in a frame behind glass. They're numbered, so they're limited edition numbered. And he would take a frame, he would wrap it with leather. And he would do all this himself, so he makes all of this. And they're very good, very nice. If you want like some art for your home, I really like Peter Lick's art. I know it's funny, Peter Lick, Peter Max, two Peters in my, interest of art. So that's where my mind for art is. I do collect Disney art. I've got plenty of Thomas Kinkade. I think we've got about 7 or 8 Thomas Kinkades in the house. I've got a closet where we've got a bunch of art, movie scenes, things like that. We just got a bunch of it. We haven't hung up yet. I haven't framed a lot of it yet, but I've got a bunch of limited art that needs to be hung up, honestly. And obviously I collect like Disney pins, comic books, and those things sit at my walls too. So that's my art background. But thinking about this whole art NFT thing, and I'm like, people can just gain this art in very high definition by copy, cut, and pasting it. Then they can stick it on their own digital frame, and then they can just have it loop because they like it. They don't have to say they own it, because no one really cares on the average person. A wealthy person, that's a different story, and that's we'll talk more in a minute about that. But these cheaper ends of art that people are doing for NFTs and stuff, you can just copy, cut, and paste it, stick it on a display, and there you go. You can say you've got all these different NFTs. Now, you can't sell them, you can't profit on them, and utility that belongs to that platform you don't get, but the average person doesn't care about any of that. You could sit there and show them that you made a ton of money on one collectible, and then show them a slew of other collectibles that you claim to have, and you can make yourself look way wealthier than you really are, and no one's the wiser. Unless you show it in your wallet, unless you show it in your showroom, but if you're having them in some like wall art in your house or in your desk or something, no one's going to be the wiser. They're not, and no one's going to fact check you on that stuff. Not today, not today's world. In the future, maybe. So, and that's not me complaining about the copy, cut, and paste of NFTs or anything, because I know Veve's different with the collectibles and the comics and the utility and the display functions and the AR functions and just the fact that it's a 3D figure that moves and does things. You know, like it's vastly different, especially on a collectible standpoint, and it's so amazing. But even when you look at these, like if you're in the Bat Cows, or if you got the Care Bears, if you're going to go for other recur drops, if you buy OpenSea NFTs, art OpenSea NFTs, regular NFT projects, CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, all of these PFPs, one of ones, you know, these are what I would call those copy, cut, and paste style things that I could just, you know, making my profile pic. I don't have to validate it. No one cares about that even. Just they'll see a Bored Ape on my thing. They probably won't think twice. You know, it's only on Twitter also. I could do this on any other platform and pretend that I'm a Bored Ape Yacht Club owner, you know, until I get caught or whatever. You know, it is what it is. But when we're talking about art, in my mind, I am not thinking about a slightly varied copy of something that's got 10,000. You know, those need utility, those need things to go along with them, nostalgia, something to make those valuable. So when I'm talking art, you know, when I think of a Thomas Kincaid, they're not that expensive. You know, you can get stages of Thomas Kincaids. I personally like the ones where they're like a little bit of a sparkles and, you know, the glittery looking ones. Like we've got a whole aerial scenescape that's got like the extra glitter thrown on top, and it's a nicer matte frame, and it's got touch-ups on it that make it look really, you know, you can feel it if you really wanted to feel it. But, you know, there are also cheap prints that are free. And I got one. They give out these postcards in Thomas Kincaid. I've got one. I put it in a gold frame and stuck it on a wall. Just because I could. So I've got free art that just cost me probably $20 worth of matting and frame. Then I've got expensive art, you know, $500, $600 to $1,000 for, you know, higher end Thomas. And then Thomas Kincaid has originals. His hand touched that canvas. His family owns that canvas. Very few people, he has original sketches and stuff for sale where he might have started something and scrapped it, but they'll sell it later on, so it's an original. But, you know, there's not very many originals. NFTs walk into the scene, and not just NFTs, but Veve decides to do these one of ones, one of fives, extra low, ultra low, you know, one of a kind art collectible type thing. Now, a lot of people are looking at this first one, and it's looking very Warhol-y, obviously, but you know, it's just its own style. It may not be your style, but someone enjoys this art. So you've got that, and you know, you're probably thinking, well, why would someone buy this? Is it going to be valuable? Because art NFTs, you know, we say that the art NFTs on Veve, they're not going to do as well as the other stuff, and you'd be like, well, what would this one of one be valuable for or anything? It's just going to be rich people to change the money. But no. Let's just say Veve, they work with licensors. Let's say Veve hooks up with the licensor who owns Pablo Picasso's or Rembrandt's or Monet, or I mean, you name it. You know, the Mona Lisa, whoever owns the Mona Lisa. Imagine if that person made a one-of-one Mona Lisa, fully licensed, you know, it is validated. How valuable do you think that would end up being? You know, like that, the thought of that is just shocking to me. But then you might be like, well, I'm not really wanting, that's not my style or anything. But, and this is why I'm super, super getting more bullish on Veve by the day, I'm thinking, man, if we attract high-end clients, high-end artists with high-end art, nostalgic, new, whatever, but if we attract high-end, wealthy clients into just that aspect alone, the notoriety of Veve is going to change, the user base of Veve is going to change, and I think you are going to see something that I don't think any of us honestly thought would happen, or anything like. It just, in my mind, I was thinking a comic book store with really valuable comics. Some of them get obviously to millions of dollars. But the potential now, I mean, the potential to take some of the rarest art in the world, make a one of one, and sell it at auction. There's a part of me that thinks that one day we're going to be hearing about the Veve news, and the whole world's going to hear about the Veve news. It's going to be everywhere. And then you're going to be hearing about some $10 million, $20 million auction that happened on the blockchain. And lo and behold, the auction house was Veve. You know what I mean? Like, that is potentially huge. So that's it. That's all I got. That's just the two things. But to wrap it up, I just growing more bullish on Veve. Veve's looking better and better. Not just because I'm doing well. I've been doing well. I've been in profit. I know a lot of people, you might still be down. This would be the time to accumulate if that's in your wheelhouse right now. Because I am up on my Veve investment, I'm down in some of my other investments currently in crypto. So my goal, instead of spending more money into Veve, is to take a lot of my money and to put it into some of these assets that I've been investing in and get it back to where I'm in a better price per token. And then when the recovery happens, and inevitably it will, as long as you're making safer investments, I think you'll find out that you will have not only your Veve portfolio go from barely profit or breaking even to huge profit, but if you're down in something, you can bring that thing back up into major profit, and you can capitalize on it, in the next bull run, the next decade, whatever. So yeah, I'm bullish on the project. Although I'm not spending any actual money in it right now, I am flipping things, getting collectibles and flipping them, and then hodling any grails I get. But I'm putting it all into crypto right now, just currently. I'm going to be doing it for the remainder of the bear market, to be honest. Probably the first of the year, I'll have an evaluation, see where I'm at, and then I'm not saying I'm going to resume into Veve, but I'm definitely going to start looking at more of a even approach where I'm spreading my investments around to more areas as opposed to being a little more finite. So Veve would get included on that. But that's it. So please like this video, subscribe to my channel. My name's Crypto Corey. I want to thank you for joining me. Nothing I say is advice, financial advice or regular advice. Don't take my advice. Do your own research. But I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day, Veve fam.